So you guys have probably heard earlier on that Chris Eubank Jr. went right at Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn at the press conference today for the whole card of Bivol versus Beterbiev. And yes, there's been quite a few things that's now come out about it. Chris Eubank Jr. has apologized. Well, should I say forced to be apologized, probably either by his team, because Frank Warren's actually threatened to sue Chris Eubank Jr. once again over the comment that he made, which I don't understand why he'd sue him for that. Or it could have been Turkey Al-Sheikh, who doesn't really want to put up with any of this. But yeah, anyway, let's share the screen. We're going to go on to what Chris Eubank Jr. said. We're going to go through it. And yeah, here we go. If the sounds up.
Why boxer? Because every other promoter out here is a scumbag.
I'm not gonna lie though. He says, he went to box. I think Ben Shalom's a bit of a prick as well, though. To be fair. So yeah. Anyway.
That's why. You've got Frank Warren behind me. Been lying and cheating his way through boxing for the last couple decades. Sued me for a couple $100,000 a few years ago.
I mean, that is true. I don't think Frank Warren's been cheating his way through boxing and all that. But, what Eubank Jr. is saying about Frank Warren suing him and all that, it's true. And clearly Chris Eubank Jr. disagrees to why Frank Warren did it.
Obviously, I was never going to go with him. The guy's a scumbag. Calais Sauerland. Had me locked up.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
And you can tell Chris Eubank Jr. very, very, very badly rattled Frank Warren. Chris Eubank Jr. is speaking right into a microphone. I think Frank Warren can hear him loud and clear. I don't think we all fully know the full details into why Frank Warren sued Chris Eubank Jr., but very clearly Chris Eubank Jr. is not happy about with what was going on. Apparently, Chris Eubank Jr. breached a contract or something, but Chris Eubank Jr. very clearly disagrees with it all, and for that, Frank Warren was pretty harsh on him, and Frank Warren has criticised him quite a bit in the past as well. So, I do get why Chris Eubank Jr. is going at Frank Warren.
Sauerland had me locked up in a terrible contract for the last few years, squeezing money out of me at every opportunity. Scumbag. Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith, they did everything they could to try and make this fight against Conor Benn still go ahead. Still go.
And yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. is completely right with what he's saying about Eddie Hearn. No one can disagree with that. They tried to put Chris Eubank Jr. still into in a fight with a steroid cheat in Conor Benn. Eddie Hearn and everyone around Matchroom were really bloody pushing to still make the fight happen, even though Conor Benn had failed drug tests. So, Eddie Hearn is a bloody scumbag for that. Chris Eubank Jr. is not wrong with that whatsoever. Frank Warren is still bloody rattled because he's still trying to get a word in.
Go ahead.
Why'd you fight Hamza Shiraz, scumbag?
And now, he's talking about the Hamza Shiraz stuff and all that. Frank Warren's very clearly rattled that Chris Eubank Jr. brought the whole thing up. Very clearly. Clearly Frank Warren didn't want anything like that to be brought up. So that's very... it's very clearly badly rattled Frank Warren, and Chris Eubank Jr.'s got the response out of him that he wanted.
Knowing that they, that he was on steroids, scumbags,
Yeah, everything he said about Eddie Hearn is completely spot on, to be fair. Eddie Hearn can't even have an argument against why Chris Eubank Jr. is going at him. The whole, calling Eddie Hearn a scumbag, that is 100% out of everything, completely bloody reasonable. And that's why Eddie Hearn's not really saying anything, because deep down, the guy knows he's in the wrong, and he knows for a fact he is still promoting a steroid cheat in Conor Benn.
I would say the only promoter that I know for sure.
Frank Warren is still trying to get a word in, still consistently going on. And he's getting rattled badly for it. And Frank Warren, I mean, threatened to sue Chris Eubank Jr. once again for calling him a scumbag and bringing up that Frank Warren sued him in the past, so he's suing him again. Like, I don't get how this is like a suable matter from Frank Warren. Like, Chris Eubank Jr. brought something up that happened in the past, which very clearly he doesn't agree with and isn't happy with. And Frank Warren was able to get some good money out of Chris Eubank Jr. as well, which Frank Warren also did admit to. I think it's on this page somewhere. But yeah, Frank Warren admitted to it as well. Like, here we go. Let me get this back up. So yeah, Frank Warren said it was. So yeah, he said he sued him, and it was and he was successful in suing him, and he was able to get money out of him at the end. And now he's saying, "I'm going to keep it short and simple." He's going to get sued again, but why? It makes no sense. Like, all Chris Eubank Jr. is doing, he's bringing something up. He's getting asked a question about why he signed for Boxer, and he's just setting it straight, saying it how it is. And Frank Warren is suing Chris Eubank Jr. basically for saying it how it is. That is why Frank Warren is suing Chris Eubank Jr., because Chris Eubank Jr. just brought up something that he didn't want to be brought up. Chris Eubank Jr. is only saying something that happened in the past, and Chris Eubank Jr. was already sued for it. And now Frank Warren, for no reason whatsoever, is trying to get more money out of Chris Eubank Jr. just for bringing up the situation and calling him a scumbag for it, because very clearly Chris Eubank Jr. disagrees with, being sued by Frank Warren. And Frank Warren's just massively overreacting with this. Once again, like, it's a joke. And obviously, as what I said about Eddie Hearn can't do anything about this, because everything Chris Eubank Jr. said about Eddie Hearn was completely spot on. But again, Frank Warren's just, chatting shit, though, because I don't get what he's actually suing him for. He's trying to get money out of Chris Eubank Jr. It made no sense. But though, as I said, Chris Eubank Jr. has apologized for it. I think it's on this page. Yeah, here it is. This is the statement that came out. Chris Eubank Jr. having to apologize. So yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. apparently said, I don't think this is Chris Eubank Jr.'s own words, so probably his team. But he said, yeah, following today's press conference for the historic Riyadh season event on October 12th, I would like to retract my inaccurate statements. They weren't inaccurate at all, though. They were not inaccurate at all. And offer my apologies to Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, and Cowley Sorlin, sorry. First of all, Sorlin did have Chris Eubank Jr. locked up in a bad contract. He did. I think from what we've been hearing as well behind the scenes, Sorlin was very clearly unfair on Chris Eubank Jr. Definitely. Eubank stayed for too long as well. Everything Chris Eubank Jr. said about Eddie Hearn was completely spot on. Eddie Hearn is an absolute scumbag for what he tried to do, still trying to make a steroid cheat fight Chris Eubank Jr. And that's because Eddie Hearn was trying to squeeze money out of Chris Eubank Jr. by making the fight happen. And Frank Warren very clearly, all Eubank did was bring something up that happened in the past, and clearly isn't happy about it. And Frank Warren wants to sue him. I mean, there's nothing to apologize for. I wish to purely focus on boxing and preparing for the huge fight in Riyadh next month. And then Frank Warren bloody said, because he was going on about it, I accept Chris's apology and retraction. I have said things before and apologized to him. Also, if any criticism has upset him in the past, I look forward to seeing him compete on this huge Riyadh season card. We look ahead to some potentially massive bouts in the future. Yeah, I just think the whole thing was a massive overreaction, and Eubank had nothing to be sorry for. But yeah, it's whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, Keir. I'll speak to you in a bit.